Okay, just in case you're not aware, I'm Adam Bolt. I'm here again tonight for Gold Coast Dive and Snorkel for a 4-part presentation on GoPro and how to get the most out of it. 2 weeks ago we spoke about myself, my journey from photography into GoPro and how I got there. Last week we looked at the ways to avoid disasters with your GoPro and the best settings to use. And tonight's a good one. Tonight was probably one of the hardest ones to put together. It took quite a bit of time to go through, but find photos and videos that could sort of show you what I'm trying to demonstrate here to you guys. But it's all about framing, composition and filming techniques, and hopefully we have some time and we'll be able to go over the equipment that I use as well. And next week is also another good lesson. It'll be about light, color correction and video editing techniques on the GoPro Quick app, and also a program called CapCut. So first bit of this is all about framing and composition. So first things to consider before you even take a photo or video. We need to take into these things into consideration. So the time of the day, it's really important. Where the sun is in the sky, if it's cloudy, all that sort of thing, it's going to make a big difference to the quality of your photos. And I'll go into that a little bit more next week when we talk about light. Weather conditions, that also plays a big part of the quality of your images you can capture. So if it's windy and overcast, it basically means that there's less light that can get through to under the water surface, and less light means you're going to get less image quality. GoPros need a lot of light to work properly. And that goes with water clarity as well. If you've got poor visibility, that diminishes the quality of light, and in turn that diminishes the quality of your images as well. Now these things are really quite important. Know your location. So the more that you dive in a location, the better that you'll become at knowing where all the best spots are, and where you can capture that great content, and the best times to go diving there. Like the Seaway, we know that's a good time to go diving there on high tide. And know your subject. So the more you dive those locations, the more you'll understand the marine life that inhabits it, where they live and how they behave. And tip, if you don't know a location and it's marine life, team up with someone that does. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that Adam Riley's been putting up lately. Team up with him. He finds everything. I don't know where he finds all these, all the marine life out there, but he gets some incredible stuff in the last couple of weeks. Anticipate the shot. So when you know the subject and the location, it makes it much easier to anticipate the shot. So you'll be able to put yourself in a position to create that image that you want, and you'll be able to let the marine life come to you, because they'll sort of, it's a bit like animals. They sort of get a bit of an understanding. They can know when you're not a threat, etc. They'll come to you more often as well, so you get a better shot. So thanks to Dave, I think he's in the chat there, but that's a lot of Dave's images from when we went down to Burleigh the other day with the hammerheads. And you can see, like, Dave's got a lot of knowledge of diving and how marine life works. Like he was able to dive down, put himself in a position where those hammerheads came to him. Everybody else was diving down, the hammerheads were scattering. Dave got down, you could see how close that hammerhead came. That's because he understands like what to do in those sort of situations. So as I said, the more you dive, the more that you'll get to know the marine life and how to behave around them. And once you've found a location, the marine life you want, try different levels of try different perspectives and angles. So take a shot, but also try different, like changing the camera angle or whatever, just to see what looks best in the camera later on. Now, there is no perfect shot. Okay, there's not one perfect way to take an underwater image, and that's basically because we all have different tastes of what we like. So what I like and what you like can be completely different. So it's no point in you trying to emulate what I like or what I take if you don't like what I shoot. And we all have different levels of skills and experience in both diving and image creation. So don't be disheartened if your images don't look as good as others. It can take years to become an experienced diver and to become an image creator and editor as well. So keep developing those skills. It will help you to create better and more engaging content the more that you work at it. So tonight we'll see a range of ideas on how to frame and compose your images. And it's up to you to go and try some of those methods to see what works best for you. And yeah, try experimenting with different techniques. So as I said, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the better you'll become at it. And the great thing about GoPros, it's all digital imagery. That means you can experiment to your heart's content. It doesn't matter how much content you create, because it doesn't cost you anything. So you can shoot as much as you want and see what works for you. And the more you experiment and try different techniques, the better you'll become. And over time, you will basically develop your own skills and your own style. And this is really important. The only person you need to please when you're taking your images is yourself. You don't have to go and try and please everybody else out there. If other people like your work, that's a bonus. It's a great feeling to know that other people have been impacted by your work. And here are some of the ways that we can make our images stand out. Okay, lens perspective. Now, on a DSLR camera, we can change the lens, we can change the aperture, and that all creates a different perspective in our shot. So, by changing the aperture, we can blur the background or keep it sharp as a tack. Now, on a GoPro, we don't have that luxury. We have one fixed aperture lens with a set focal length. So, because we can't change our aperture or the lens on the GoPro, it limits us to the ability of changing that perspective. We can, however, change the lens style on the GoPro to change the look of our video. So on most GoPros, you have lens options of narrow, linear, wide, and super view. Now the new GoPro 11 has an 8x7 sensor. Now that enables a lens called hyperview.
On our GoPros, we can change our lens to change the perspective of our shot. We can do this by tapping and holding the profile setting at the bottom of the screen. This brings up our ProTune settings. We can tap lens, and we can change the lens setting to hyperview, which is GoPro 11, super view. You also have the ability to change it to wide and to linear. Linear takes out the distortion in the shot for you.
So you can see there that you have different lens options, and each lens will create a different sort of perspective for you. Now, one of the great things with the GoPro 11, with that 8x7 format, if you shoot in that 8x7 format, you can actually change that lens perspective or that lens setting later in the Quick app.
The GoPro 11 has an 8x7 format sensor. This gives you more options when reframing your image, allowing you to reframe horizontally for YouTube or vertically for TikTok and Instagram stories. One unique feature of the GoPro 11 with its 8x7 sensor is that you can change the lens after you've taken the video. If you open the Quick app, you'll see you have the ability to change the lens from linear, wide, super view and hyperview. Being able to change our lens enables us to change the perspective of our video, and it looks like this.
So that's a really good demonstration of how changing the lens on your GoPro, or the lens setting on your GoPro will change the look of your photo or video. Now I shoot linear when I'm shooting marine life, and the main reason for that is it takes out the distortion and it also crops in a bit closer, which makes the subject look closer for you as well. Now if I'm going like on a wreck dive, I'll use the wide lens. And that's basically because I can capture more of the scene, making it easier to capture a larger object. The other two lenses, like super view and hyperview, make your images look, for me, they make your images look too distorted, and I don't recommend using them. The only time that you might use those is that probably more for photos, if you want to create something a little bit more interesting and you want to use a really funky sort of super wide image. But for the most part for video, it doesn't look great. GoPros are designed to focus down to 30 centimeters to infinity. So any subject that gets closer than 30 centimeters is going to look blurry in the shot. So keep that in mind if you're getting close to marine life. If you get within 10 or 15 centimeters, that shot's going to look really blurry. You're not going to see the that marine life. It's going to look, as I said, blurry, not sharp. Now we can overcome this by attaching a macro lens, which then lets us focus much closer to our subject. And when we put a macro lens attachment on, that's when we'll use linear and narrow lenses.
The Macromate Mini overcomes the focus limitation of the camera because it brings the focus range in much closer than the camera's normal limit, allowing us to fill the frame with subjects that are about the size of a golf ball in razor-sharp focus.
So that's one thing I want to try, is to get some macro lenses for the GoPro 2. I think that could be quite interesting. Okay, so we've looked at a few things there, but one of the main ways to get really good content is to stabilize your shot. Like if you've got shaky arms or a shaky GoPro, it's hard to get nice smooth video or a nice sharp image as well. So one way to stabilize yourself is to hold on to objects to keep yourself steady. We can use things like rocks, or hold on to the seabed, or use a muck stick to hold us in place. Don't hold on to corals or stonefish. Wear gloves where possible. So that video was just done free diving, being properly weighted and being able to sit down the bottom and just hold myself steady on the sand. Now, another way we can get a nice steady shot underwater is to use a tripod with flexible legs. Now that'll give us the ultimate in static stability. They're perfect for shooting macro shots, because macros shots, you're dealing with such a small focus point of view that if you move the camera, you're going to be in and out of focus a lot. So being able to keep your GoPro planted means that you can take those macro shots. And it's also good if you want to leave your GoPro set in a direction where the marine life's going to swim by. And yeah, it looks something like this. I don't know if you could hear that, but I got a little bit excited when those hammerheads went past the camera there. Okay, so dive rigs, that's the next thing that we can look at. So dive rigs help us control stability. It gives us now 2 points of contact. And by having 2 points of contact, that means we spread the load, which reduces shake. If you've got a selfie stick, your arm can move like that, but as soon as you go like that, it's a lot more solid.
We've got the camera mounted on our double-handle tray. We use a double-handle tray for more stability than just a single handle or a selfie stick.
And that's basically what I use, one of those, and I've got another one as well, but I found these to be absolutely incredible. I think George has got one of these domes with a twin handle. I think Veronica, was it Veronica? No, it was Rachel, I think, went out the other day and got one of those as well. But highly recommend getting a dive tray. But the best method really is buoyancy control. So the more that you can stay stable in the water by controlling your buoyancy, that will improve your images no end. And that also means same with free diving, being properly weighted so that you can get to certain levels and don't have to kick around too much to stay at a certain level. Be like this turtle with your buoyancy control. Okay, so the more relaxed you can be with your buoyancy, the more stable those shots are going to look for you as well. So that's a big thing. Nice stable shots really make your videos. Okay, so framing in composition. We already spoke last week about the rule of thirds. which we can enable those grid lines on the back of our Gopro. Now, in practice, the rule of thirds, it helps you to place foreground and background subjects in a composition that helps, in a composition that is pleasing to the eye. So start by placing your subject on those intersections to give you symmetry. Now, the placement doesn't have to be perfect. It only needs to allow the subjects, the room to breathe. Give space to each subject that's in your frame. Now, hopefully that video gives you a good idea of how that rule of third works. You can see that just by placing different subjects in different sections on those intersections, it really helps to, I guess, give a more pleasing image. We can also add diagonals like we have on this last shot here as well, which can go through those intersections, which also helps with the framing as well. Now, choose your angle. So carefully consider the angle you shoot your subject from. So shooting the wrong angle will make or break your image. Now, generally shooting down from the surface with your Gopro, and so shooting from the surface and you're just angling slightly down, that generally doesn't give us the best results. It can look a little bit boring. It's pretty much how we all see the world. But if you are shooting from that sort of an angle, try and shoot something that's unique in the shot. So I've got a video coming up in a second which kind of demonstrates that for us. Now, shooting your subject from around eye level generally will produce the best results. So, basically practice those diving skills so that you can dive to depths that enable you to get below your subject. And at depth, you can also add in foreground elements to help tell your story. So adding foreground, it helps create a sense of scale, and it creates more depth to your image as well, adds more points of interest, and helps people to visualize what your experience was like. So if you've got a foreground, you can keep the top of the surface in shot as well. People can then tell, oh, you're actually under the water, you're down pretty deep, whatever it could be, but it really helps to tell the story. And make sure that the subject is close to you, because if the subject's too far away, basically you lose color and contrast, and we talk about that more next week when we talk about light. So different perspectives and unique images. Now, here's an image, here's an example of two videos taken at the same time and in the same location. I think I saw Rachel here before, but thanks to Rachel for that first video and letting me share that one. So both those videos tell a story from the two different angles of perspective. Now, both show the viewers something that they don't often see, a unique experience. So shooting a unique experience or image makes it more visually interesting. So with Rachel's videos, even though she's shooting from the surface, she's captured the schooling mullet, which is already quite interesting. And then she's caught me coming into that mullet, and you can see how they spread away from me as well. So she's had those sort of interesting, unique shots to that video to make it stand out a little bit more from other people. And from my point of view too, it was great seeing me in the video as well. I'm pretty sure everybody enjoys seeing themselves in videos. Now, from my video, I was capturing that subject at the eye level, which creates a unique perspective for most people. They don't often get that deep in the water. And then swimming into the schooling mullet also creates that unique image of all those fishes just spreading past the lens there. So both of those videos help tell our story and take our viewers on the adventure with us. Next one, fill your frame. Okay, GoPros have a wide angle lens, capturing a wide field of view. So we really need to get close to our marine life to, to fill that frame. And by getting closer, it's going to help it stand out from the background, and your images will have more impact by doing that. Okay, so bear in mind with a lot of these videos that I'm showing you, like I said, I'm still a very novice scuba diver. I've done less, I think I've done a maximum of 12 dives now. So you can see by having the trays and that sort of thing, and having good light definitely helps with your videos. Okay, so if we don't fill the frame, we can use something called negative space. Now that relates to minimalist imagery. And what we mean by that is it emphasizes the empty space around the subject. That emptiness gives definition to the subject. So you can see here we've got that free diver, just nothing around them. Like it really is immersive. You can go, wow, look at that. They're just the way they're diving looks pretty incredible. It's a powerful tool to draw attention to the subject. You can also use that rule of thirds, which will help with placement of those subjects in the frame. And there's Dave Inner coming up from between the pipes, and I just took like a frame grab of one of the videos, but I just like that whole emptiness in front of him. It just just makes it kind of feel like, where is he in the world? It makes it feel quite incredible. Next thing with framing and composition, emphasize size. Okay, show how big your subject is by putting yourself and then the marine life in that same frame. You can really tell the difference. That's an image that came from Deep Blue Coast. Okay, so frame your subject. Now, what I mean by that is look for objects on the edge of your frame that will then frame the central subject. So an example is swim through hole. So here we've got a diver coming towards us, but we've got that swim through hole which frames the rest of the shot for us. We can use things like portholes or doors on sunken ships as well to frame subjects. So we can be inside the ship and shoot out, and we can get that sort of a shot. Drop-offs in canyons, you can use those to help frame your subject as well. Schooling fish, like we just saw before, is another perfect way of framing your subject. Lead-in line. So this is used really often in normal photography, and we can definitely use it for underwater photography as well. So lead-in lines draw your attention through the frame. So an example, we've got the side of a boat, a sunken ship, which then takes your eye through that frame. Same thing here, fish swimming along the side of a coral and swimming through the back of the frame. They take your eye through the shot, and then you look into that subject that's swimming towards us. And you can do it from shooting upwards as well. So here we've got a kelp forest, so we can use those lead-in lines of the kelp forest as well to take us through the image. We can also use diagonal lines. So angling the subject in the frame can make your image look more dynamic. So here we've got those small sardines by the looks of it. They're angled, and it also, doing that also takes your eye across the frame as well. So you're not just, it's more visually pleasing by doing these sort of changes to your shot. Colors make a big difference as well. Okay, so subjects with bright colors will stand out against the dull background, and colors make your image pop. And thanks to Dave Morris for this shot as well. His stuff is amazing, it really is. I love this shot. So primary colors work best to make those images pop, and those colors are red, as we can see here, blues and yellows as well. Now, there are secondary colors that also work. But also notice the textures and shapes that are on that starfish that really create interest as well. So when we're talking about textures and shapes, this is another great shot by Dave Morris. I just love this shot. I just love those textures. I'm not sure. I presume it's on the kelp themselves. But yeah, just with these sort of shots, with these shots using textures and shapes, it's generally like macro shots that you'll be doing this sort of stuff with. And generally side lighting, so that you get really sharp, deep shadows will best look best for shooting macro shots as well. Okay, symmetry and repeating patterns. So what we're looking for here is subjects that have similar shapes and forms and that repeat throughout the composition. So symmetry. So here's a shot here, compositions that mirror the other half. And thanks to Evie Hull, she's one of the members in the group now as well. Her stuff is amazing, and we'll talk about her in a minute. Okay, so repeating patterns. So what we're looking for there is the same subjects repeating throughout the frame. And here we can see hammerhead shark repeated through the frame. So things like that really make your images stand out. We can also use reflection, so to create symmetry, because it can also help mirror your subject. So look for reflections. Now, you're really only going to get that when the water's really still and it's nice and clear and bright sunny days, and works even better when you've got a nice sandy bottom to reflect off the bottom there. And you definitely see this when you get very close to the surface. It's a very cool looking effect. And here's a great example of using that as an abstract for an image. So yeah, if you like taking photos with your GoPro, look for that sort of that sort of scene, because you can get a really cool image out of that. You can also use like mirrored dive masks and have the light reflect off the mask. It's like a bit of a cyborg there, and thanks Blakey for that one. Silhouettes, it's another technique that we can use. So look for subjects that are backlit by the sun, and it creates a silhouette, and it can also create patterns as well. So basically, when we're doing a silhouette shot, we're shooting with the sun directly in front of the GoPro, and then we put the subject in between us and the sun. So here's an example where got a low, like it's just become sunrise. We've got the sun just rising above the horizon. That sun also then is hitting those waves on top, and it's making the light bounce down in different angles, so we get that lovely beams of light breaking through as well. Plus we get that really cool backlit silhouette shot of Dave there in the water as well. And we can also use the midday sun as well. So now what we can do is, if it's midday, the sun's directly above us, we can actually point the camera directly up and we'll still get that silhouette effect. And those silhouettes work best with well-defined shapes. So here we can see great, defined shapes of sharks. We've got giant trevally there. We've also got the humans, so and the boat as well. So it all gives us a really distinct idea of what's in the water there, and how deep we are, etc., etc. Okay, so another way to really improve your image quality is get inspired. If you start following people that the work you like, you'll get better ideas of what you like, and how they've shot it and that sort of thing as well. So, get on Instagram, follow people that you really like and that you really respect. And basically, if you love their work, it means it's pleasing to your eye, and it's something that you can aspire to. Now, as I said before, we're really lucky that in Gold Coast Dive and Snorkel, we've got some incredible members here within the group with some amazing talents. And one person that I highly recommend that you follow is Evie Hall. She's just joined the group, and her stuff is amazing. I know some of the people have actually bought some of her work here. If you want to take a screen grab of that, I'd do that. Go and see her work there at Evie Wilderness on Instagram. You'll be blown away. So here's some of her shots. We can see that we've got the framing of the turtle with that schooling fish. It's a really cool image. Here we've got lead-in lines and also diagonals, plus she's got beautiful lighting here as well. filling in the frame with a top-down shot, which gives a really clear, distinct image of that turtle. And I love this shot too. It's a really good use of foreground and background. So we've got a really nice shot of the wobbegong, but then we've got all the fish in the background there as well. So it really helps draw your eye through that frame. And this is a really cool image as well. So some more schooling bait fish, but just that sort of empty space, like we were talking about before about negative space. We've got all that negative space there, but then we've got all those lines with the mullet, all that bait fish there. So really cool image. All right, video techniques. Now, before I go on, are there any questions that need to be asked? Debbie asked a question, can that be added to a Hero 6? Can you turn your mic on, Debbie, just so I can answer that, because I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Is Debbie there?
Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to find the little mic button.
Oh. So when you say, can that be added to a Hero 6, what were you asking about?
The bracket that you had, you know, the larger bracket?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
It can, okay, cool. And the other thing was that lens, you know, the lens, changing the lens. Is that also for a Hero 6?
Yes, you can get, as long as you get the right dive case and because that one comes from Backscatter, a company. There are others out there as well, and they're designed to actually fit on the GoPro. You have to have a GoPro case for that one though, dive case.
Oh yeah, they're really hard to get. You know, they're impossible for a 6. I'm just ready to cark my 6 and, you know, chuck it to get 11 and just do it. You know,
just do it.
yeah.
While we're stopped, are there any other questions there?
Sorry, just if you send your 6, if you're a subscription and send your 6 in, they'll give you a 9.
Oh,
back.
really, Brian?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
You need a subscription. Go to the GoPro website. At least I assume they're still doing that. So I had a 7 and they sent me a 9 back. Nothing fitted the 9 from the 7, but it got me a new 9.
But did they just give you a 9 and you just didn't know it? Or like,
they replace, sorry, maybe do this off-site, but they replace it with the closest that they still make. And 9's the oldest one they make.
Correct, because they've stopped producing all the other ones. That they're only producing 9, 10, 11 now. So yeah, you can send that 6 in. I sent an old 18. I know you sent an 18 recently. George sent one in, and they'll just replace it with the new 9 for you.
If I wait long enough, I'll get an 11.
Yeah, well, yeah, just a couple of years. Now, who asked where can you get the dive tray and the GoPro thing? So I will send a link later for this one, but there is a guy called Richie Kerbeck. He's up on just behind Madraba. He keeps a fair bit of stock up there. I know George went up there to buy his dome up there. I bought one from him as well. I think they're what, 60, 70 bucks or something like that from him. It looks after us on pricing, so yeah.
Yeah, it was about 60. But look, I've actually got another dome, but his is much better. And I also bought some lights off him. So he's got these small lights that you can put on your rig as well. So definitely worth looking him up, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you post those details, please, George?
Yeah, I'll let Bolty do it for you, yeah?
Yes, yeah, I'll do that. I've got one there from Katrina. What is the turnaround time when buying those additional features? So is Katrina there? Just not sure what she means by those additional features. No, not there.
Hey, and just to be clear, what are some of the reasons you can give them for replacement, task for replacement?
Well, like I did, I accidentally dropped it in water.
Oh, funny that. Okay.
With an open door.
Okay.
I don't think there's a no question asked. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Somebody's put there, Veronica. So the GoPro 7 doesn't have to be damaged. No, but if you wanted to, you could. If you're worried about them saying something. You can do it for any model. So if you've got 9, 10, 11, they'll replace it like for like. But if you've got anything earlier than a GoPro 9, they'll replace it with a GoPro 9 for you. Oh, okay. So just replying to Katrina. Now that dome, Richie actually carries them up there, up at his place at the back of the Gold Coast there. So you can actually get that. You know, if you're willing to drive to him, you can buy it from him. And get it that day, or he can post it to you. It'll only be 1 or 2 days to get it from him. That's what there. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, reason battery. Yeah, battery's not working. Exactly. Someone said it cost them 149. Yeah, sometimes they will charge you. It all depends, I guess. They'll look at it on a case-to-case basis. His name's Richie Kirkbeck. He doesn't actually have a website as such, but I'll send you through a contact details in our online group chat. Okay, all right. I shall continue. Okay, so top tips. Consider the following to create amazing video content. So we've talked about it before. Buoyancy control. It really is paramount to capturing smooth, stable video. Now, the more, the better you are at buoyancy control, the more, you're not going to be up and down in the water column. You're not going to be flailing around like this. So, buoyancy control is paramount. Also, your breathing. So, breath control really helps. Rising up and down smoothly, but also at the same time, for that buoyancy control as well. And obviously, if you're scuba diving, don't rise up too quickly. You don't want to, damage your lungs by coming up too quick. So, use your proper breathing techniques when doing that sort of thing. I just put that in there as a disclaimer in case somebody gets injured. Now, this is one thing that probably scuba divers don't think about, but I saw this the other day, and I've seen a few people mention it now too. If you're scuba diving, think about maybe getting free dive fins. And the reason why I've seen a lot of scuba divers say that they prefer using free diving fins is that they give you more power, which means less effort. Less effort means less body movement when you're going through the water, so you're getting more stable shots using free diving fins. They're definitely good for open water, but obviously not really recommended for swimming around tight areas like corals or in small contained areas like in wrecks, etc. Okay, we mentioned before as well, eye level. Get to or slightly below or above eye level of your subject. You can also drift. Okay, so we can use the current to drift forward or backwards for smooth capture, so we don't actually have to do any flapping around with our fins or using our hands to move. We can just use the current and just drift with it, which gives a really nice stable shot. If we do have to kick against the current, use your butterfly kicks. And obviously, once again, don't chase marine life. Move slowly towards them and go through them. Okay, so everything that we're talking about here is smooth movements. Okay, so concentrate on performing smooth movement and pan. So I'll just give one of the trays. So we've got one of the trays like this. We're not going, oh, there's a fish, there's a fish, there's a fish. We're going swimming towards a fish, and then we're moving away slowly, or we're panning up and above. It's all smooth, calculated, controlled movements. So as I said, erratic movements are jarring to the eye. So I'll just get that tray again. Just imagine I'm coming in going, whoa, over here, whoa, over there. It doesn't work. So smooth movements. And be creative. Look for uniqueness in your captures. Look for opportunities where you can create something really interesting. Now, there's a guy that posted just this week on Gold Coast Diving Centre named Don Middleton. He was a free diver. There was one shot that he put in there that I really loved, and it seems kind of bizarre. It wasn't about the marine life. It was an ultra slow-mo of him coming off the bottom of the sand bed, and he flicked his fin, and it just had this twirl of sand coming up like a turbine. It looked really cool. So it doesn't just have to be marine life. It can be something as minute as that can look really cool. And cinematic moves. So that's where we're looking at different moves, but smooth, calculated shots. Now, using these shots will work with any camera. So if you learn these techniques for diving, you can use that with your camera for filming, or it doesn't matter what you want to film. These all work for any type of filming. So drone as well can work with your drone. So watch YouTube videos that show these video techniques and cinematic camera movements. And you want to take a screenshot of that one. There's a guy on YouTube called Aquatic Images, really good very good channel that I would recommend watching. He's got a really good one on different techniques and video techniques, etc. So have a look at his channel. Okay, so these are some of the techniques that I often use. So follow shots. So basically here I'm moving with the subject. It adds a feeling that you're there with them in the shot. And it often looks best when you're got lead-in lines. So here you can see where we're swimming at the sand pumping pipes, but they're helping us take us through the frame because they're sort of just slightly off, and we've angled the camera or the GoPro so that we've got that sort of an angle, so it's drawing us through the shot. And as I said, we're shooting from slightly behind and to the side. And be creative, try different perspectives as well. You don't have to use that position, we can try other positions. So an example, we can be directly behind a shark and we can capture that really cool, beautiful sway of the shark as it's moving through the water. And stay close to your subject as well. Now, being too far away will lose its impact. And you definitely want to make sure that the subject stands out in the frame. Now, a lot of people poo-poo this shot. They don't think it looks great, but I really think it can look really good in your videos. So yeah, as I said, that's one of the shots I like using. Straight tracking shots. Now this is where we move slowly towards or away from the subject and on a straight course. Once again, we've got to really make sure that we're keeping that GoPro steady. You want it to look like it's on a dolly, like like those sort of cinematic shots that you see. And you want a subject in front of you that has a clear and unobstructed view. And if you can, keep low across the foreground, which will help accentuate the movement. And look for those lead-in lines as well, or maybe gaps in between, rock walls or corals, etc., that you can move through. It will really add to those shots as well when you move through them. And side tracking shots. So here we're looking for subjects that are moving parallel with us, or we can find a subject that we can move parallel to. So an example there would be a sunken wreck, where you follow the length of the wreck to show the size of it. It's also a useful technique or movement to reveal a subject. So as an example, we could be swimming along that side of that wreck, and then we go past the porthole, and then you might reveal a groper or a large marine life in there. Adding foreground to our side tracking shot will also help with that accentuating the movement. Okay, reveal shots. I like trying to get these shots. So what we're doing here is we're looking for a subject that is hidden behind an object. So basically we're going to reveal that subject from behind that object. So plan your dive to swim past that object and then reveal the subject. So you can use that side tracking shots to do that, or what we call a jib shot. So that's like the sort of a crane shot when you're coming up like this. And like I said, look for structures that offer unique ways to reveal your subject. So it doesn't have to be just corals and that sort of thing. Here we've used the sand pumping pipes. And thanks again to Dave for being my model again. He's been very helpful for me capturing some great content. But you can see how, like a shot like that, where you can reveal the subject, that really just, you know, all of a sudden go, oh, well, there's something there. It really sort of grabs your attention. And we spoke before about that jib shot. So basically that's a up and down plane. And basically, like I said, we're drifting up or down vertically in this shot with the subject. So we can also combine tilt in that shot as well. So we've got the GoPro, we're going up and we can tilt forward, or we can start from the bottom with the GoPro aiming up, and as we're coming up, we're lining our camera to follow that subject. And Dave again, like I said, he's very prevalent in these videos for me. I've got the camera facing up, he's coming down, I'm going down, I'm going up, and I'm tracking down with him. Oh, we have a question. Okay. Just bear with me for a second. I'm just reading a couple of questions here. Oh yes, George has just put Richie's phone number in there. Script aside for it's for the GoPro subscription. If you log in on you know, through Australia, you'll be logged into GoPro Australia. And if you try to go through the GoPro US site, you'll be brought back to the Australian site. So yeah, you'll only ever go through the Australian site for that one. Okay, so I mentioned before about that crane shot going up like that, and then we're adding tilt into that shot as well. And we're doing that smoothly when we do that. We're not just flopping it around, we're just tracking with the subject. We can do that in the vertical plane from and basically means we can, by tilting the shot, we can go from one subject to another as well. And it's a great way to reveal that new subject. So you can see by doing that tilt, we can go from one subject down to another just to bring something else into the shot. Top-down shot. So for this, we need to point the GoPro down towards the subject. With the top-down shot, you really want a defined subject. You don't want to have clutter around it. You want it to be really, for it to stand out. Best way to do it is to keep that subject dead center for the best effect. I was a little bit off on this shot, but it's really just to demonstrate what it can look like. And adding a rotation, so we're facing the GoPro down, and then we can actually rotate around on that axis, and you can add a bit more, you know, sort of dynamic sort of imagery to it as well. And if we're doing those top-down shots, we can also slowly drift down or slowly drift away to create sort of an effect as well. Now, for these sort of shots, you need really, you know, exceptional buoyancy control and exceptional breath control if you want to go up and down in that water column as well. Okay, so spin shots. So basically, when I'm saying spin shots, we're rotating the camera on its axis. Most of the time I'll use that spin shot from the top, but you can use it from the side if you wanted to, you know, go from a vertical shot to a horizontal shot. It definitely creates a strong sense of motion when you use that spin shot. As I said, generally used for top-down shots, and especially when you're tracking a subject. And if you add some tilt into that with that spin, so you're spinning but also tilting at the same time, you can get like a 3D effect. And thanks to Blake for being my model on this one. So doing that tilt and pan as well, that tilt and spin, it means you can go from one plane to another in like I've done in this shot. So we've started with the GoPro facing down. I'm spinning the GoPro on its axis. As Blake's coming up, I'm tilting now the camera up as well and following him and tracking around him. So those spin shots can be really creative, especially when you add in a couple of other elements to it as well. The other option is to do orbital tracking. So here we're moving around that subject and we keep them in the center of the frame. It's a technique that's often used with drone videos as well, and it works quite well for underwater shots. And we have a question. Who's posted? Somebody's just posted something about freediving. I've got to have to read this one. Blake, you do look good. Blake's just put there, free divers look so graceful in the water. Then there's me. No, mate, I think you look great in the water. Okay, so keeping your subject centered requires excellent buoyancy and finning techniques. And adding foreground will definitely help accentuate that movement as well. Now, Paul's one of the members of the group, and I didn't actually get time to ask him about this, but hopefully he's okay with me posting this video of him. And PS, I need to work on my technique for this shot. So it's a difficult shot to pull that one off, especially if you're free diving and you're trying to fin, move around, keep the camera steady, all that sort of thing. Probably a bit easier as a scuba diver, but yeah, it can look quite cool, a shot like that. Panning shots. So we've all done those, those panning shots when we're taking photos, and basically that's what we're doing with the GoPro here. So we can pan this way, up and down, or basically we can also turn it towards us and we can sort of pan around with the subjects behind us. It's basically the inverse of an orbital shot. So in the orbital shot, we've got a central subject, we're going around it. Now we're the central subject and we're filming what's going around us. And definitely great for tracking subjects or showing a panorama of your surroundings. And as I said, you can also have the GoPro facing yourself so that you get a panning selfie. So just another technique you can add into your filming, just to add different elements to your video. Now we can combine a lot of those moves. Okay, so underwater videography is all about motion. So how can we show those continued motions? We've got the GoPro, we're going straight ahead, but how do we get from there to over there? And make it look good. So we can add in transitional moves like we did before. And we can achieve this by doing those pan shots, adding the tilt, or those spin shots. So that basically gives us all three axes. So you've got that axis, you got that axis, and you got that axis. So by using a combination of that, we can move to any plane. So we can go from straight ahead to shooting up, to shooting sideways, to moving up and down and shooting down. Just so much you can do with just adding those little techniques in. And as I said, those moves, those three moves cover every access point, so you can do those transitional shots. And as I said, you need to do those smoothly for the greatest effect. And it can also help if you want to continue to follow your subject as you're moving away from them. So you can see how that shot, we started tracking towards Blake, and next thing I've started circling around him, gone over the top, and then we've revealed the schooling mullet in front of him. So you can see by combining moves, you can get some really dynamic imagery out of that. We can also take, as I said before, static shots. These can actually be quite interesting. We're basically, for these shots, we're keeping the GoPro still while recording, and we're going to face the GoPro towards a point of interest. And it definitely looks great when we have those subjects move into frame like we saw before with the hammerhead shark. And it can also be great for doing selfie shots of yourself. And for those of you that have ever gone to Adreno, that's my stepdaughter Ashka that was managing there recently. Selfies. Okay, so I like selfies. I like taking underwater selfies. To me, they had a bit of a personal touch to your video as well. The viewers can relate then when they see you in the location that you're diving. They can go, oh wow, what a beautiful location, or wow, look at the marine life that you're seeing. So you know, adding elements like marine life into those shots, into your selfie shots, will really increase its impact. So I didn't have any marine life in that shot, but the fact there's nobody else around me, I like the empty space behind me. I think that just really makes it feel really calming, very like you want to be there type thing. Okay, so we've got all those shots together, but we've looked at camera movements to do transitions from one spot to another. But if we're going from one scene to another, how can we do that? Okay, so what we can do is we can add or take videos of scenes that will help us transition from one thing to another. So breaking the surface, you're underwater, you're breaking through the surface. When you come through that, you can add a transition when you're doing a video edit. Or you can go over scuba bubbles. You can use those bubbles to add in a transition in your video editing. You can have those beams of lights coming through the water, and you can use that to add as a transition. Or you can go panning your subject into, say, bright light or something like that, which that bright light, you can use that as a transition when you're doing your video editing. We can also do like flick of the camera or something like that, but those sort of things that people often use with their phones, etc. You don't really need to do that anymore. A lot of these editing apps have those sort of transitions that you can use when you do your video editing. So you can see with those couple of examples there, like there's got the breaking the surface with Dave coming into the water. Then I've gone over scuba bubbles, and you can use those sort of techniques to add in those transitions. Oh, can we emit Kirsty? Good question. Let's have a look. I don't know. George, come in, George.
Yeah, she messaged about 4 minutes ago. She might have disappeared.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't. That's nothing's popped up there. Okay. All right, I'll continue. We're nearly finished now, anyway. How are we going for time? Are we still all right for time? Because we can go over a bit of equipment if people want to do that. Does anybody have any questions at the moment?
Keep going, mate.
Mate, cool. Okay, so I know recently in one of the tutorials we did, there was a lady that was asking about dome shots. So I thought I'd just do a little section on that one. When we're doing dome shots, the one thing we've got to think about is water refraction. So basically, objects underwater appear 25 to 30% larger than they are. And this happens because the index of refraction of water is greater than air. So in other words, it just magnifies as the light comes into the water, the refraction is greater, so it makes things look bigger. So like a flat surface like on your dive mask or the front lens of your GoPro, it will see that refraction. And so everything will look bigger when you're underwater with those flat surfaces. But a curved surface of like your dome, so you got that curved surface there, that takes away a lot of that refraction. So if you actually shoot with a dome underwater, you'll find that things look further away all of a sudden. Now that makes dome ports really good for shooting large subjects. So if you're going to do a dive wreck, I would recommend using a dome port because that will give you a much wider shot when you're underwater. They're also great, obviously, for those half shots as well. So you've got half above water and half below water. And that's because you've got the dome on the front, it pushes the water away. So now you've got a gap between the front of your GoPro and the water itself. And there's some examples of some of those sort of shots you can get with a dome. So very cool technique. They can be difficult to take, but with a bit of practice and the right conditions, you can really get some great images with these with domes. Okay, so a couple of things to consider when shooting with a dome. Shoot on a sunny day. You know, the light will greatly improve those shots. Avoid reflection, so don't point the dome towards the sun. Always keep it above you or behind you. Shoot in clear water, and also make sure that water's nice and calm as well. And when you're shooting with the dome, always continue to pay attention to the back of the screen so that you know whether that shot is, so you can make sure that the surface of the water is always half and half in that shot. And avoid fogging up. So if you're going to start, you know, changing the GoPro battery, etc., and you're using a dome, there's a good chance that that's going to fog up. So make sure you use anti-fog inserts, and make sure the dome's always kept clean as well. And if you're shooting with the dome, definitely put the camera into burst mode so that you can capture multiple images. So as you're moving up and bobbing up and down, doing those dome shots, if you're shooting in burst mode, at least you're going to get at least one shot that's in a good position. And play with the angle of the dome as well. So because it refracts more underwater, you can find that you can generally tilt the dome slightly forward towards the subjects on top, and further away from the bottom will help improve the aspect of the shot for you. Okay, so diving equipment. These are the essential equipment that I would recommend for diving with a GoPro. Okay, so dive case. If you're snorkeling, I would still recommend using a dive case. As I mentioned just recently, you know, things to avoid. If your GoPro is not in a dive case and you've left any little bit of hair or something on that that door when you've closed it, there's a good chance you could flood your GoPro. So having a dive case will definitely add that extra sense of security to it. This picture here is of the Tellison dive case, which I use. It works quite well. But if I was going to recommend one to anybody, I would recommend the actual GoPro one. Two reasons for this. First of all, the glass on the front of these is much better. My daughter's got this one, and when I shoot with hers compared to the Tellison one, you'll definitely notice a difference on the edge of the frame. The GoPro one gives a much sharper image, whereas the Tellison one was a little bit softer. Plus the GoPro one, this is the most significant thing, has the dual lock system. So you can see that image there, it has another lock system. So especially if you're scuba diving, you know, the last thing you want to do is pull it up, it gets caught onto something and you pulled the latch, and next thing you flooded your GoPro at 40 meters. So having a dual lock system will, you know, definitely stop that, or help stop that from happening. Dive filters. Now the best quality is glass. Those cheaper dive case that I got, that Tellison one, it comes with these filters. Don't use them. They're to be honest, they're rubbish. They're made of plastic. They scratch easy. They'll pop off the front of the thing quite easily when you dive underwater. They just float around. They're just I just don't use them at all, and wouldn't recommend using them. If you are going to buy filters, I would recommend the proper glass ones, like these ones from Polar Pro. These are designed to fit specifically over the front of the GoPro itself, and that way they're never going to pop off, and they give a much better quality. The best systems are these flip systems, so that if you're diving at different depths, you can put a different color filter on for those different depths, or if you want to add like a macro lens on as well. Personally, I still don't recommend using colored filters, and I talk more about that next week. But if you like shooting with the colored filters to, you know, bring back color, it's definitely something you can use with these flip systems. We've already mentioned the dome ports. We can also use a floating handle or a selfie stick, or you can get the both, whether it's a floating stick and a selfie in the one. We saw that dive rig before as well. If you wanted to start off, this is a great system to start off with, because you can have it with the dome or without the dome and just mount the GoPro inside it, which I've done there as well. And actually one thing, while I'm looking at that shot as well, one thing I've done with that is added a longer tether on it. With a short tether on it when I was diving, what I found is if I wanted to turn around and look at the front of it, I couldn't do that. By adding a longer tether, I can now turn it around. So what was happening when I was underwater, because it was short, wouldn't leave it on. Next thing, it was floating up in front of the shot. So with a longer tether, it always stays on my hand. I can always move it around. But this is the ultimate system. Get a proper dive tray, dive rig that you can mount lights onto. On this system here as well, they've also added the switch system. So that would be my ultimate setup if I was looking at taking the next step with my GoPro. And you can go even further by putting in ball arms, and with ball arms you can also add on floats, and that will definitely once again help with the stability of your device as well. So as we mentioned before, dive rigs add that extra stability, plus you can mount lights. Now George mentioned before about those shots by, who was it? Was it David with the GoPro 4?
David Bates.
Yeah, David Bates, yeah. So I put this video in as well because you'll see the difference here as well. Having like a dive tray with lights, this is shot with a GoPro 4. So first of all, GoPro 4 doesn't have the stability like a GoPro 11, 10 or 9, all that sort of has. Plus, from all accounts, they're not supposed to be good quality, but with a good dive tray, good lights, this is the sort of video that you can get. So yeah, just a really good demonstration. You don't need the best equipment to get the shots or the latest and greatest. As long as you've got the proper diving equipment, it's going to make a big difference for your shots. And we mentioned before, if we like doing the macro stuff, we can use that system, use the macro lens and add a little flexible tripod onto it as well. And the great thing about these systems is that if you want to upgrade to a more compact system, you can do that later on as well. One thing that you might want to think of bringing along with yourself is a muck stick. They also call it a tank slapper. It's really good for banging on the side of your tank and getting people's attention. But as you can see in this shot, it's a great way to hold yourself above the coral without damaging the coral as well. We mentioned before about anti-fog inserts. So if you're touching the GoPros, changing batteries, etc., and you're putting into a case or a dome, you definitely want to add those in so you don't get any fogging in your GoPros. If you want to get those point of view shots, you can get a dive mask with the mount for that as well. And prescription lens dive masks as well. So if you've got bad eyesight like myself, definitely go out and look at buying a set of prescription lenses that are fitted properly for your dive mask. Okay, and this will be the last section. So generally when you're taking your GoPro, you're generally going on a bit of an adventure. So you're not just doing dive shots, you're also doing a bit of filming of where you're going. So a bit of logging, a bit of travel photography. And if I'm doing that as well, this is the equipment that I'll take with that. So first one is these battery powered selfie sticks. So that means you can shoot all day. You can use them as a selfie stick. If you want to do those long sort of night time lapses, etc., you can use that for that as well. It comes in a really cool kit with a door for the side of that, so you can plug straight into your GoPro. A really good bit of kit, that one. I then use a little mini tripod because these have a little mounting point on the bottom of that, so I use that little mini tripod and I can hold it steady on that. Or you can travel with a nice lightweight travel tripod, and by using those sort of that bit of equipment, you can get shots like this. remote's not going to be for everybody, but when I shoot, I generally shoot with multiple GoPros, so it's an excellent device to be able to enable shooting from, you know, the number of GoPros that you've got mounted up. Connected. All right, now let's see if we can start recording from it. There you go, perfect. So yeah, remote's really good if you want to, you know, if you're filming by yourself and you want to be able to capture different points of view. I also use an external light when I'm shooting, so I actually use this dive light for that, nice and bright. So it's handy if I'm shooting in low light conditions, or maybe I've got the sun in front of me. And basically the sun is going to be coming up pretty much right behind me there. I've got don't know if you can see the boat behind me, but yeah, the sun should come over the boat. So you can see that by adding a light into your shot as well, just helps to get a better image in those sort of conditions. Okay, so one thing you might want to try and do as well is to get a little bit better audio for yourself. And I would recommend getting the GoPro Media Mod. I know George just got that recently for when he went to Fiji. How did you find that? How did that work for you, George, the Media Mod?
Works really well. It stops the wind from creating that sound through the mic.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really good. Yeah, great tool.
And the other thing about these, the Media Mod, and also for earlier models, you need to get these 3.5 mic adapters, is that you can add in some external microphones. So a great example of this is where I went, my boss, he's become a pilot, so I got an opportunity to go up in the aircraft, and we were able to plug the whole sort of, you know, microphone system that he's got, you know, talking, so we could actually get this shot.
You got a good view of it there?
Yeah.
So there should be a helicopter. There it is up there. How about Evans? Yep. He'll be at 1,000 feet. If he's tracking south, he'll be at 1,000 feet.
So yeah, yeah, there's situations where having those, being able to plug in external microphones, so you can get that sort of audio, is really cool. Now GoPro have come out with what they call the Creator Kit, and basically all those products I just spoke about, it's all in one, just in that one kit there. So you've got the selfie stick, you've got the remote on it as well, you've got the battery pack in it, you've got the light, and then you've got that Media Mod. So pretty much an all-in-one kit if you want to go vlogging and traveling. As I said, you might want to add in a really good wireless microphone system. This one's from DJI. I've used this system before with a big YouTuber, Danny Black, up in Brisbane, and the system works amazingly well. I'm a very novice scuba diver, like novice. To come back with video from this unit, then I'm looking at going, this is super professional. I found it fantastic. This will improve your underwater videography by miles. So in that interview I was doing with him, we had that mic system and it worked really, really well. If you don't have the money for that, you can get these little foam covers. So they'll go over your GoPro and add a little bit of wind resistance to the microphones. And this is the sort of result you can get. I've got a video coming up now, which was probably a good 20 to 30 kilometer winds coming in. As you can see behind me, we've got snapper rocks over here. I'm waiting for some big waves to come over the top. It is a bit blown out today, but it's looking pretty epic with some of these big, look at these sets coming through now. They're huge. So we'll head over there now. So you can hear just a slight little wind muffle as I turn around, but for the most part, it takes a lot of that wind noise out. And this is another system that I use quite often when I'm traveling. It's a quick release system. So it means I've got a mounting point for my GoPro, which plugs in to another mount. So I can actually, you know, quickly put the GoPro from one mount to another. Really good little quick system. Make sure you get one that's got a locking button on it, because the last thing you want to do is be coming down a ravine or something like that. The GoPro gets knocked and twisted and falls out. So get one that's got a locking system on it. Other things we can take, like flexible arms or the suction caps for traveling. I'm really looking at getting this neck strap one. That's got like a quick release system on it as well, but just a nice comfortable way of getting those point of view shots so that you can use your hands free, and you can get shots like this. Beautiful bird. Probably after all these crabs. There he goes. Beautiful. And another thing that you've seen in some of my shots, I'll use filters for my GoPro. So just get one out here. So you can get them with polarizers and neutral density. I've got a whole bunch of them, and they can, with those, you can create different visual effects with your GoPro. So if you're not aware of that, a lot of the GoPros, apart from GoPro 8, you can actually twist that front lens off. You can push down a little bit, twist it, and it just pops off. So you can add in different filters to create those different effects. And lastly, I really recommend getting a hard case for your GoPro. So this is a really excellent, let me just get the GoPro. I can put the GoPro in like that, put the case on it, zip it up, chuck it in the bag. I don't have to worry about the front screen or the back screen getting crushed or damaged during transit. So I'd recommend getting those Tellison hard cases, and Richie that does the domes, he also sells those as well. Same with that selfie stick, etc. He sells quite a bit of gear up there that you might be interested in. Okay, that's it. Question time. Do you have any questions about tonight's presentations? Is there anything else that you would like to add? See some of the questions here. I might just hand this back to, do you want me to hand this back to you, George?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just get rid of that.
With the anti-fog and the anti-fog inserts, another good thing that I've picked up over the years as well, you know those little silicon bead packets that you'd sometimes get in like boxes of shoes? Silica gel, that's it.
Yes,
yeah, those little silica gel packets. Shove one of those in your camera cases because that stops the fog as well.
Oh, okay.
Thanks,
How do I get you back to? Just trying to see how I get you back to the host.
I think I'm back, mate.
Oh, okay.
So for scuba divers, there's a lot of opportunity. Like in the Seaway, quite often there's massive schools of trevally, and they're like in a massive big ball. They hang around the pipe. You can actually dive into the school, or you can dive. They'll open up and let you dive with them. But if you're diving towards them, as they pass you, their eyes wobble, and it's quite an extraordinary experience. Grand Trevally, not so much. In the Great Barrier Reef, massive schools of bump heads, and the bump heads are massive. And I've had the opportunity twice where they've parted way and allowed a gap for me, and I'm a big bloke, and they've allowed me to swim with them in their school.
Oh, wow.
So those opportunities, they're the Adam Bolt opportunities where you want to weep, okay? So there's a lot of that good stuff going on. In the Seaway, we've got up to 14 resident gropers at the end, but sometimes they're scattered across the pipe. There's some people, there's a guy called Gary Johnson. He also identifies himself as captured by Gaz, and he's got a knack of being able to get really close to the gropers and giving them a bit of a rub under the chin. So it's all about buoyancy. It's all about how calm you are. It's about your breathing. You can get close to these beasts, yeah? The other one is schools, Fevers of Rays. And I do have a scooter. They do about 6 k's per hour. I can actually zoom along with the rays, and the Eagle Rays, their normal cruising speed's about 6 kilometers per hour. But once they feel threatened, they just go, boop, they disperse. Grey nurse sharks. If any of you are snorkelers and you're going to head to scuba diving, and right now is an opportunity as it gets into winter, we will be diving with grey nurse. And grey nurse during the daytime, they're like comatose, and they just cruise very slowly in schools, turn around, they just do circuits. And with them, don't try and chase them. They'll run away, you'll ruin it for everyone. Just find a vantage spot, and they'll cruise really close to you, okay? And I've seen a grey nurse swim past me, and this was at Southwest Rocks, and there was a bream in its way, and it just opens its mouth up, swallowed the bream, didn't even chew it, and kept going. So great opportunities if you know how to handle that type of thing. Bait fish, not so much, they'll just disperse. And yeah, so a lot of great opportunities to do all that stuff. Anyone else got any questions for Adam Bolt?
There's a couple of questions that came through. Katrina asked about the quality of Teleson. They're not as good as GoPro, but they're definitely improving their quality over the last few years. And I've had their gear and been using it for some time, and haven't really had any issues with it. But as I said, the quality is not as good as a GoPro product itself, but they're definitely not as bad as some of the cheap Chinese stuff out there.
Look, I think their GoPro 30-meter cases, the underwater cases, I think he sells them for $20.
$20, yeah.
You go and buy a GoPro brand, they're $80. But I will say to you, I've never had a leak on a GoPro, and yet I know so many people are complaining about GoPros and how they've ruined the camera because of leaks. So I'll pay the $80. Yeah, anytime.
Yeah,
for sure.
Who else we got there? It looks like Grant's asked, with the dive tray and the lights, do they turn on? The lights again. Okay, so the lights, you basically turn them on individually. So yeah, they don't turn on together. You do those individually. The remote does not work underwater. No, it's waterproof to 5 meters, but it works on Bluetooth, so it can't transmit underwater. Anti-fog inserts, pretty much you can get those off eBay. They're as cheap as chips. We will be talking about doing the transferring of footage. We sort of mentioned that a little bit last week as well, but I'll definitely be talking about that next week.
Okay.
Any other questions? Did that sort of, I guess what I presented tonight, was that useful? Did that give you guys some inspiration, some help?
Adam, I just want to say the level of detail tonight was pretty amazing. I saw that you put a lot of effort into it, and it would have taken a lot of hours to put that together. So
this one,
yeah,
this is probably the hardest one, because just trying to find content to make it engaging and to show what I was trying to show. Yeah,
really appreciate it. And I can see I'm really, as a group leader, I'm really excited about the quality of the work that's coming out. We're all getting to share our underwater memories, and it's beautiful. Thank you. All right, if there's no further questions, just want to say thank you to Adam. So thanks, Adam. Thanks, Adam. And I will be uploading this to YouTube, and it'll be on YouTube, Gold Coast Dive and Snorkel TV channel. So good night, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you sometime soon at one of our events. Thank you.
No.
Bye-bye, everybody.